My name is Joy Ruiz, and I'm 27 years old. If you saw my family from the outside when I was growing up, you'd probably think we were picture perfect. Two parents, two kids, nice little house, my mom's Pinterest level birthday decorations, my dad grilling in the backyard on weekends. The kind of family people point at on Facebook and comment, goals. What you wouldn't see is the way they drew an invisible line straight down the middle of our house. On one side, my older brother, Liam, 2 years ahead of me, golden child, born with a spotlight fixed on him. On the other side, me, background filler, the supporting character in my own life. The funny part is, they were really good at pretending it wasn't like that. When relatives came over, my mom could flip a switch. Suddenly, she was the doting mother of two. Joy, honey, show Grandma your drawings. How's school going, sweetheart? She'd rest her hand on my shoulder like it had always been there. Then the front door would close, the car engines would fade down the street, and the hand would slide off my shoulder like I'd imagined it. Birthdays were the easiest place to see it. Liam's birthdays were events. Balloons on the fence, banners with his name in big letters, themed cakes with edible toppers, 20 kids running around the yard, my mom buzzing like a wedding planner. There would be so many gifts piled on the table that you couldn't even see the table anymore, just wrapping paper and ribbons. Mine? My mom would put a store-bought cake on the dining table, still in the plastic container, and say, "Well, we didn't have time to plan anything big this year. You know how busy things are." Maybe my grandparents would come. Maybe not. If we had balloons, they were leftovers from some other party with Liam's name still half rubbed off. One year, when I was about 11, I finally asked, "Why don't I ever get parties like Liam?" I asked my mom while she was scrolling on her phone. "Like with balloons and all his friends?" She barely looked up, because Liam's birthday is right before school starts. It's easier to invite people. Yours is during a busy time, sweetheart. People are traveling. That didn't make sense to me. We could still celebrate, though. Liam, who'd been listening from the couch, snorted. "Nobody cares about your boring little birthday, Joy. Mine's fun. Yours would just be embarrassing." My mom laughed. Not like a mean laugh, but the tired, indulgent one she always used when he said something rude. "Liam, be nice," she said, but there was no real heat in it. I remember just standing there with this weird, hollow feeling in my chest, like I'd asked for too much by wanting balloons. It wasn't just birthdays, it was everything. At school, I wasn't a genius or anything, but I was good, the kind of good teachers notice. I liked math, art, anything that felt like a puzzle I could solve. When I was 14, my math teacher pulled me aside after class. "There's a regional competition coming up," she said. "You'd be perfect for it, Joy. I'm recommending you." I walked home buzzing. For once, it was something that was mine. Not Liam's little sister, just me. At dinner, I waited until my parents were both sitting, then told them. "My teacher wants me to go to regionals for math. She thinks I could actually win." My dad didn't even look up from his plate at first. "Regionals, huh?" he muttered. My mom frowned, like I'd suggested something really inconvenient. "When is it?" "Next month, on Saturday." I tried to sound casual. My heart was pounding. She said it would look great on college applications. Silence for a beat too long. Liam twirled his fork and glanced at my parents like he was waiting to see which way the wind would blow. My dad put his fork down with this heavy clink. "I don't know, Joy. That sounds like a lot of pressure." "Pressure? For who?" "It's just a competition," I said. "My teacher really thinks—" My mom cut in. "We have to think about Liam, too. He's already under a lot of stress with his classes. If you're off doing competitions and winning things, how do you think that will make him feel?" There it was. The part they usually tried to sugarcoat, just naked on the table. Liam smirked. "Please. Like anyone wants to sit and watch you do math on a Saturday. If you embarrass yourself, don't drag the family name down with you." My dad nodded, like that settled it. "Your mother's right. It wouldn't be fair if you got attention for this and your brother didn't. We don't want any rivalry." I remember staring at them, feeling like I'd fallen into some alternate universe. "So, I can't go?" I asked. My mom sighed like I was being dramatic. "We're saying it's better if you focus on school and don't chase after things that could cause tension, okay? We're just trying to keep the peace." It took me years to be able to put words to what that moment did to me. It wasn't just no to a competition. It was no to the idea of me ever stepping out of the role they'd written for me, the quiet one, the supporting act, the one who doesn't make waves. From then on, every time something good showed up in my life, I waited for the other shoe to drop. By the time I hit 17, I'd stopped asking for anything. No more parties, no more special programs, No more competitions. I just studied, worked part-time, and told myself that if I kept my head down, maybe I could escape later. College was my escape plan. I worked like my life depended on it. Late nights, extra credit, hours at the library where my eyes burned, but my notes were perfect. I applied to a bunch of schools, but there was one program in particular, competitive, respected, the kind that could actually change things for me. The day the acceptance email came, I was sitting on my bed, phone in hand, trying not to shake. When I read the word congratulations, I actually laughed out loud. For the first time, I felt proud of myself. I made the mistake of thinking my parents might feel that way too. I brought my laptop into the kitchen and set it on the table like it was some kind of sacred offering. I got in, I said, voice a little breathless. To that program I told you about. They accepted me. My mom's eyes flicked to the screen, then back to the dish she was rinsing. My dad leaned forward, squinting. Huh, he said. That's nice. Nice? My heart stuttered. Dad, this program is really competitive. Not everyone gets in. This could set me up for a good career. I was trying to sell it, as if I was pitching a business idea instead of my entire future. My dad sighed, a real, heavy, annoyed sigh. Joy, we're not paying for that. For a second, I thought I'd misheard him. What? We already have Liam in college, he said, like he'd rehearsed this. We're not stretching ourselves just because you want to go somewhere fancier. Fancier? My voice cracked. Do you even understand what this is? People dream of getting in there. This isn't about fancy. It's my future. My mom turned, drying her hands on a dish towel. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. It wouldn't be fair to Liam if you went to a school that's ranked higher than his. Imagine how he'd feel. We have to think about both of you. I stared at her, the room tilting slightly. You're saying I can't go because it would hurt his feelings? You're being dramatic, my dad snapped. It's just school. There are plenty of colleges. No, I said, and my hands were shaking now. This isn't just school. When he needed tutors, when he wanted extra classes, you found the money. When he wanted some business course that he dropped after 2 weeks, you paid for it. But when it's me, suddenly it's too much, too unfair. Watch your tone, my mom warned. I felt something inside me crack open. Years of being the shadow child, the backup singer in the Liam show, just split. No, I said again, voice low but steady. I'm done watching my tone. Every single time I worked for something, you shut it down. No competitions, no hobbies, now this. You don't want me to outshine him. Just admit it. That's enough, my dad barked. You think the world revolves around you? We're not made of money. I think, I said, meeting his eyes, you decided a long time ago that you only wanted one star, and it wasn't me. Silence. For the first time in my life, they didn't even bother to deny it. My mom just pressed her lips together. My dad looked away. That silence was louder than any shout. That night, I went to my aunt's house, my mom's older sister. She'd always been the one to slip me an extra 20 at Christmas or bring me a special cupcake on my birthday because I know your parents didn't really do anything. She'd noticed things. I just hadn't told her how bad it really was. I sat at her kitchen table and told her everything. The college acceptance, the refusal, it wouldn't be fair to Liam. The years of quiet sabotage dressed up as keeping the peace. She didn't interrupt, she just listened. Her jaw tightened with every detail. Finally, she exhaled slowly. Pack your things, she said. I blinked. What? Pack your things. Her voice left no room for argument. You're coming to live with me. I'll cover your tuition, your housing, whatever it takes. You deserve a future, Joy. If they won't give it to you, I will. It was the first time an adult had ever said I deserved something without adding conditions. The next day, she drove to my parents' house. She didn't knock. She walked right in like she'd been waiting years for this. My parents were in the living room. Liam was on his phone, not even pretending not to listen. How dare you, my aunt said, her voice like a whip. No greeting, no pleasantries. You're really going to sabotage your own daughter's future because of your twisted idea of fairness? My mom bristled. This is none of your business. We're her parents. We decide what's fair. Fair? My aunt almost laughed, but it came out sharp. You call punishing one kid for succeeding fair? What is wrong with you? My dad stood. Don't you come into our house and tell us how to raise our children. We have Liam to think about. He's under pressure. And Joy isn't? My aunt shot back. He's gotten tutors, lessons, attention, money, every advantage. She earns her way into a top program, and your first thought is, how will poor Liam feel? My mom's face went red. You don't understand the pressure we're under. No, my aunt snapped. You chose a favorite, and you threw the other under the bus. And now you're mad because someone finally noticed. Get out, my dad barked. You're not taking our daughter anywhere. Yes, she said, her voice suddenly calm and deadly serious. I am. And one day, when you wonder why she doesn't come back, remember this moment. Remember who walked away from her first. The room felt frozen. My parents glared. Liam smirked faintly, like he still believed they'd win. No one moved to stop me. I went upstairs, hands shaking as I folded clothes into my suitcase. My mom appeared in the doorway, arms crossed. You'll regret this, she said, almost gleeful. You'll come crawling back when she gets tired of you. My dad stayed in his chair downstairs, staring at the TV like if he ignored me hard enough, I'd vanish. Liam leaned in the hallway, arms crossed, that same smug little curl to his lip. Have fun being the charity case, he said. I didn't answer. I just zipped my suitcase, took one last look at the room I'd grown up in, and walked past them all. My aunt was waiting at the front door. She picked up one side of my suitcase like it weighed nothing and looked my parents dead in the eye. You'll miss her when she's gone, she said quietly, but she won't miss this. Then we stepped outside, the door closing behind us with a soft click that sounded to me exactly like freedom. Sitting in her car, my hands still shaking, I made myself a promise. If they ever came back, years from now, asking for help, I would remember this moment. The way they looked at me and chose him. The way they let me walk out. And I would not forget. Moving in with my aunt felt like stepping through a doorway into another universe, one where I wasn't tiptoeing around someone else's spotlight. Her house was smaller than my parents', a cozy 2-bedroom with creaky floors and mismatched furniture, but it felt warmer than any place I'd ever lived. Your room's at the end of the hall, she said as she carried my suitcase in. It's not much, but it's yours. Yours. The word hit me harder than it should have. That night, I lay on a bed with sheets that smelled like lavender and detergent, not the stale, sanitized scent of my old room, and tried to let myself breathe. Tried to let myself believe I wasn't going to be yanked back home the next morning with some tearful speech about family unity. But no call came. Not that night. Not the next morning. Not for weeks. My parents didn't reach out at all. My aunt, meanwhile, didn't hover. She didn't give me some big inspirational speech. She just made pancakes, handed me a mug of coffee, and asked, "What's your class schedule looking like?" Like I was a normal person, like I wasn't radioactive. She helped me apply for housing, orientation, and all the practical things I'd never been allowed to do on my own. She paid the tuition up front, more than I'd ever imagined someone would spend on me. And when I choked out, "I'll pay you back," she just waved a hand. Joy, sweetheart. Focus on becoming someone who can stand on her own feet. That's repayment enough. Still, I refused to let her carry everything. I found part-time work shelving books at the campus library. Quiet work that left my hands dusty, but gave me a sense of calm. I tutored high schoolers in algebra after classes, and on weekends I worked retail, standing for 8-hour shifts in squeaky shoes that bruised my toes. Most nights I got home so exhausted I'd collapse onto my bed with my backpack still on my shoulder. But the exhaustion felt different, earned, not inflicted. And the freedom, God, it was intoxicating. I could study what I wanted, join clubs if I wanted, choose my future without asking if it would overshadow my brother. Some nights, while walking home from the bus stop under the streetlights, I'd catch myself smiling for no reason at all. For the first time, my life belonged to me. Meanwhile, the updates about Liam trickled in from overheard conversations at family gatherings or accidental mentions from my grandparents. He'd graduated, technically, but rather than applying for an actual job, he decided he was born to be an entrepreneur, which, in Liam speak, meant he created one doomed venture after another. First, he wanted to start a sneaker flipping business, then an online lifestyle brand, then a subscription box company, then a consulting agency, though no one ever figured out what it was consulting. Every project crashed, and every time my parents bailed him out, pouring their savings and apparently borrowed money into his wild ideas. He's so driven, my mom would tell relatives proudly. He just needs a little more support. Support, of course, meaning funding. And excuses, he always had them ready. The market isn't ready for my vision. The supplier screwed me over. If Mom and Dad had given me a bit more, it would have taken off. Sound familiar? He was the same boy who once told me nobody cared about my boring little birthday. Except now his dreams were costing actual money instead of just my childhood. My aunt knew all of this, of course, but she never forced conversations about them. If anything, she filtered out as much as she could. You don't need to carry their chaos anymore, she'd say. Focus on your future. So I did. College was hard, but I worked. God, I worked. I graduated with a degree in a field I loved, a resume full of real experience, and a sense of self-worth I'd never had before. I landed an entry-level job, and it felt huge. My first day, I sat in the office break room and cried, not because I was sad, but because nobody had tried to stop me from being here. A year later, I was promoted. A year after that, promoted again. And eventually, I saved enough to buy a little house, nothing fancy, but mine. I brought my aunt to the closing. She wore her nicest blouse and tried to hide how emotional she was. When I signed the papers, her eyes filled. You did this, she whispered. Not your parents, not luck. You. I shook my head. I couldn't have done any of this without you. She squeezed my hand. You would have found a way, but I'm glad I got to help. I paid her back over the next few years. Every cent of my tuition, my books, even my share of groceries I'd eaten while living with her. She tried to refuse, but I insisted. It wasn't about the money. It was about giving her proof that her faith in me had been worth it. During all this, my parents pretended everything was perfect. At family gatherings, they boasted about Liam's ventures, describing him like he was some rising tech mogul instead of a 29-year-old living rent-free in his childhood bedroom. When people asked about me, they got vague. Oh yes, Joy's working now. She's fine. She's busy. I didn't mind. They didn't deserve my story. But beneath their smiley facade, something else was happening. Their finances were collapsing. They'd taken out loans to keep Liam's businesses alive. They'd borrowed from relatives without telling them where the money was going. And since they cut me out of the narrative, no one knew the truth. They'd sacrificed me to build up Liam, and now he was dragging them down with him. Irony, poetic or otherwise, didn't make me happy. It just finally made sense. All those years, they clipped my wings so he'd look like he was soaring, only for him to burn through everything and still go nowhere. Me, I kept my promise. I stayed quiet, I stayed focused, and I stayed far, far away from the fire they created. I didn't know it yet, but the flames were about to reach me anyway. For a long time, my life moved quietly, steadily, like a river carving its own path. I worked, I paid bills, I tended my tiny garden, I learned to cook things that weren't just instant noodles. I didn't think about my parents much. Not because it didn't hurt, it did, but because peace requires distance, and I was finally learning what peace felt like. Then, 2 months ago, everything changed. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was at my desk, sipping stale office coffee, when an HR email popped up. Congratulations on your promotion. I blinked at the screen like the words were a glitch. A real promotion, with a real raise. The kind of raise that made me reread the numbers twice to make sure someone hadn't added an extra zero by accident. My breath caught, my heart tripped over itself. I'd worked so hard for this. Late nights, extra projects, volunteering for things no one wanted to touch, staying behind after office hours to make sure a report was perfect before it hit my manager's desk. And it paid off. I didn't call my parents, or Liam, or anyone who once told me success wasn't meant for me. I called the people who showed up. First, my aunt. Her voice cracked halfway through her congratulations. Then my maternal grandparents, who always made me feel seen and valued in the quiet ways my parents never did. My grandpa said, I always knew you'd make something of yourself. My grandma started crying softly. My aunt said, You're just getting started, Joy. For a moment, I was 14 again. But instead of being told my achievements would hurt Liam's feelings, I was being celebrated. To mark the moment, I booked reservations at a fancy restaurant, the kind with soft lighting, white tablecloths, and waiters who pour water like they're performing delicate heart surgery. It was expensive, it was indulgent, it was absolutely worth it. My aunt dressed up for the occasion. My grandparents wore their best outfits. The night was full of laughter, stories, and the kind of warmth I had always craved as a child. Not loud or showy, just genuine. We clinked glasses, we took pictures. We lived in a moment that felt like a full circle closing. Later that evening, when we got home, my aunt posted a few photos on Instagram, a picture of us at the table, the dessert, a pair of glasses raised in celebration. The caption was long and sweet. So proud of my niece Joy, watched her grow, work hard, and become the woman she is today. Success tastes sweeter when it's earned with resilience. It was beautiful, and I thought nothing of it. But someone else did. The next morning, I woke up to an Instagram DM from Liam. Liam, wow. Must be nice flaunting money while your real family can't even keep the lights on. I just stared at my phone. We hadn't spoken in years. Not a birthday message, not a congratulations, not even a how are you? And this was his first contact? I took a breath and typed, "Me. I worked for this, Liam. Nobody handed it to me." He fired back instantly. "Liam, spare me. You wouldn't even have a degree if Aunt Laura hadn't rescued you. You think you're so special because you got lucky with a job?" Lucky. As if luck had anything to do with me clawing my way out from under the weight of their favoritism. Then my phone buzzed again, this time with a text from my parents. "Mom, we sacrificed so much for you growing up. It's time for you to step up and support your family." "Dad, we took care of you. Now it's your turn to take care of us." I almost laughed. Sacrificed? Took care of me? They didn't even pay for my college because it might hurt Liam's feelings. I typed back, "Me. My aunt supported me, not you." My mom responded in seconds. "Mom, wow, that's how you talk to your parents? Your brother is struggling. He needs your help." Ah, there it was. This wasn't about family. This was about Liam. Later that week, I ran into him by accident outside a cafe. The moment he saw me, he squared his shoulders and smirked. "Well, well, well, Miss Big Promotion," he said, arms crossed. "Must feel good thinking you're better than us." I kept my voice even. "I don't think I'm better. I just worked harder." "Please," he scoffed. "If I had half the chances you had, I'd be running my own empire by now." I blinked. "Chances? Liam, every chance you were given, you set on fire. Those businesses failed because I wasn't given enough support. You know nothing about what it takes to build something." "Entrepreneurs actually build things," I said calmly. "You drain wallets and call it vision." He stepped closer, jaw tight. "You're going to regret this. When my next idea takes off, you'll be begging to be in my shadow." "Number one," I said, stepping past him, "I'm not living in anyone's shadow anymore." Behind me, he hissed, "You'll regret this, Joy. You think you're better than me, but you're nothing without us." I didn't turn around. Not anymore. That night, I took screenshots of every message. Liam's, my parents', the guilt trips, the insults, and sent them to my aunt. She called within minutes. Her voice was pure steel. "I knew they were selfish," she said, "but this is delusional." She didn't waste a second. She called my parents directly. I wasn't on the call, but I know my aunt. She would have told them everything they'd tried to bury. She would have exposed the lies, the favoritism, the college sabotage, the years of silence. She would have told them they had no right to ask me for anything. And she didn't stop there. Because when my grandparents found out, the ones who had quietly, lovingly supported me, the ones who had unknowingly given my parents money for the kids, they were furious. They had believed my parents were splitting that help between their two children, but instead, every cent had been funneled into Liam's bottomless pit of businesses. So my grandparents cut them off financially, on the spot. My parents' perfect image started to shatter. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the forgotten child. I felt seen. I felt defended. I felt like the truth, after all these years, had finally clawed its way into the light. The fallout hit faster than I expected. Within days, my phone lit up with incoming calls, not from my parents or Liam, since I'd already muted them, but from cousins, aunts, uncles, even relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. They all wanted to know the same thing. Is it true? Was it true my parents refused to pay for my college? Was it true Liam had burned through everyone's money? Was it true I had been living with my aunt because of favoritism, not convenience? Was it true my parents had lied to everyone for years? Yes, 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 and yes. Every time I confirmed, I felt something inside me unwind, like a knot I'd carried since childhood was finally loosening. But with every truth revealed, my parents' world cracked a little more. Then the real unraveling began. My mom called first. Blocked number, of course. I let it ring out. A minute later, she left a voicemail. The voice sounded strained, forced through tears that didn't quite sound real. "Joy, please call us back. This is getting out of hand. You're making the whole family look at us differently. You're ruining everything we worked for." Everything they worked for. Their image, their reputation, their fantasy of being the perfect family. But the truth wasn't something I was going to carry like a secret scar anymore. Another voicemail came seconds later, this time from my dad. "Joy, listen. You're blowing things out of proportion. We're a family. Families have issues, but you don't air dirty laundry. You talk to us. You come home. You. Home? The place where I wasn't allowed to shine? The place where every victory was treated like a threat? No, thank you." I didn't call back. And when silence didn't work, they escalated. I woke up the next morning to 3 furious paragraphs. "Mom, you're ungrateful. After everything we did for you, this is how you repay us? By poisoning the family against us? Dad, If you think cutting us off will make you happy, you're wrong. You need to grow up and be part of this family again. Mom, seconds later, think of your brother. He's struggling. He needs you. We all need you. There it was, always circling back to Liam. It was never about me. It was never for me. It was always about who they really loved, who they invested in, who they saw as their future. Not their daughter, their son, their golden child. Things went nuclear when my aunt stepped in again. She didn't just stand by me, she led the charge. Every time my parents tried spinning a new narrative to the family, claiming I was dramatic, manipulative, brainwashed by my aunt, someone else would chime in. But she showed us the screenshots. Why did you only fund Liam's businesses? Why didn't you help with her tuition? Why didn't you tell anyone she moved out? Why did you lie? Piece by piece, their lies fell apart. My grandparents, who had quietly sent money over the years for both kids, were furious when they discovered where all of it had actually gone. My grandfather's voice shook when he called me. If I had known, he said, I would have helped you directly. It's okay, I said, but it wasn't. Not for him. He and my grandmother called my parents that same night and cut off every remaining cent. No more money, they told them. Not until you fix what you've done. I didn't need revenge. My parents were doing that to themselves. While the relatives confronted them, Liam had his own meltdown. He blew up my phone with message after message, rapid fire, each more unhinged than the last. Liam, congrats. You made everyone hate us. You think you're better than me? You're nothing. You owe us. I built my businesses for the family. Now the family needs you. You're jealous. That's why you're ruining my life. Then this. Liam, if mom and dad suffer, it'll be your fault. Not his failed ventures, not the loans he burned through, not the money he wasted. Nope. Me. Because I stopped protecting the illusion. I let him rant until he spiraled into pure rage. Then I did the thing I should have done years ago. Click, blocked. The silence after that was peaceful, clean, final, liberating. But chaos has a way of spilling over. Soon after, I started hearing the real consequences through family gossip. My parents had maxed out multiple credit cards funding Liam's entrepreneurship. They'd taken out personal loans, and some were in his name, which meant collectors were calling him, not just them. Relatives stopped loaning money after learning the truth. Liam couldn't even get a basic phone plan approved anymore. He was still sleeping in his childhood bedroom at 29. He refused every job offer because he didn't want to work beneath anyone. Meanwhile, I was signing mortgage papers, riding the motorcycle I bought with my own money, and living my own life without fear of disappointing anyone. The irony was thick enough to choke on. They spent years clipping my wings so he could fly. Now he was grounded, and I was soaring. My parents kept calling, cycling through every tactic. Anger. You'll regret this. You're destroying this family. Guilt. We're your parents. You owe us. Fear. If we end up homeless, it'll be on your conscience. Begging. Please don't abandon us. Joy. Please, we need you. Manipulation. Think of your brother. He needs stability. Even desperation. Please just help with one loan. We'll pay you back. They wouldn't. And I wasn't going to step back into the role of the emotional mule they'd always expected me to be. So I blocked them too. Phones, socials, everything. Then I told my grandparents and the relatives I trusted, I don't need updates. Not about them, not about him. I'm done. And they respected that. In the quiet that followed, for the first time in my life, I could breathe without looking over my shoulder for approval that never came. My aunt told me something one night over dinner, when I confessed that all of this felt heavy, even though I knew it was right. Joy, she said softly. Peace is supposed to feel strange at first. You grew up in chaos. Stillness feels like guilt until you learn its safety. She was right. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need dramatic confrontations or epic takedowns. All I had to do was refuse to save the people who never once saved me. And somehow, that was enough to let the truth bloom. To let karma do the heavy lifting. To finally fully walk away. A few weeks passed after I blocked my parents and Liam. At first, the silence felt impossible, like holding my breath underwater. After years of chaos, guilt, and conditioned responsibility, peace didn't feel peaceful. It felt suspicious, wrong, like I was waiting for someone to yank the rug from under me. But then something shifted. I woke up one morning, made coffee, opened my windows to let the sunlight in, and nothing happened. No guilt texts, no angry calls, no, what about your brother? No, come home where you belong. Just silence. I realized then, sometimes silence isn't emptiness. Sometimes silence is oxygen. That same week, I decided to do something small for myself, something I'd wanted since I was a teenager, but never dared to bring up because my parents would have laughed or called it irresponsible. I bought a motorcycle, a sleek black one, the kind that hums when you touch the throttle and makes the air feel different around you. I signed the papers, put my helmet on, and took it straight onto the open road. The wind hit my face, my heart kicked, my smile stretched so wide it hurt. It felt like flying. Not the fragile, conditional flight my parents gave Liam, the kind built on other people's resources, propped up with lies and excuses, but real flight, earned flight, mine. I remember thinking, if this is what freedom feels like, I never want to go back. But freedom doesn't erase the past. It just gives you space to look at it clearly. And once the truth was out, the family gossip spread like wildfire. I didn't ask for updates. I didn't need them. But relatives talk, especially the older ones, who treat information like currency. From them, I learned more about what had been happening behind the scenes. My parents weren't just struggling, they were drowning. Loan collectors calling day and night, multiple accounts in Liam's name defaulting, their home equity drained, all savings gone, credit cards maxed out, no one else willing to loan them money. Liam still refusing to get a job because he's too smart to work for someone else. It was a tragedy, but it wasn't my tragedy. They'd built this house of cards themselves, brick by brick, lie by lie, choice by choice. For years, they clipped my wings so he could feel like he was flying. And now? He was sitting in his childhood bedroom at 29, surrounded by empty energy drink cans and half-finished business plans claiming ignorance every time a debt collector showed up. He wasn't a victim. He was the architect. The relatives who once adored Liam, the ones who used to say, "Your brother is so talented, he's going to be so successful," now avoided him at gatherings. They praised me instead. Not because I was perfect, not because I'd done anything spectacular, but because I'd simply shown resilience in the face of sabotage. People respect endurance in a way they never respect entitlement. My aunt was the one who told me the most surprising part. "Your mom called me," she said one evening, while we were prepping dinner. She was crying. I paused. Crying about what? The debt? She shook her head. She said she doesn't know where she went wrong. I stared at the countertop for a long moment. Part of me, some naive, tiny, child part, wondered if this was the moment she would finally apologize. Not publicly, not dramatically. Just honestly. But then my aunt added. She said the family is judging them now, and it's hurting her reputation. Ah, there it was. Not remorse, not accountability, not love. Image, reputation, public shame. She wasn't grieving the loss of her daughter, she was grieving the loss of her facade. I felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction. Just nothing. It was like I'd run out of space inside me for caring about people who never cared back. Then came the moment that told me everything had finally shifted. A relative, one who used to fawn over Liam's big ideas, sent me a message. "Joy, I just want to say I'm proud of you. You deserve every good thing that comes your way. And I'm sorry we didn't see what was happening sooner." I sat with that message longer than I expected. People often say validation shouldn't matter, that healing has to come from within, not from others. But when the people who once overlooked you finally see you, it's powerful in a quiet, unexpected way. Still, I didn't return to the family, didn't soften, didn't offer a bridge. Because healing wasn't about reconnecting. It wasn't about forgiving people who weren't sorry. It wasn't about stepping back into a dynamic that almost crushed me. Healing was choosing myself, my peace, my future, my worth. I didn't run from my parents. I didn't hide. I simply stopped participating in the version of family they tried to force me into. I learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. Sometimes the loudest boundary is silence. And I've never regretted it. One night, while sitting on my back porch with a cup of tea, scrolling through photos of my promotion dinner, I thought about something my aunt said when she first took me in. One day you'll build a life so full that you won't even notice what they tried to take from you. I didn't understand her then. I do now. I built a life, a real one, a peaceful one that isn't dictated by someone else's jealousy, insecurity, or control. My parents' downfall wasn't my doing. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't punishment. It was simply the truth catching up. And sometimes that's enough. I leaned back, listening to crickets, the evening breeze brushing my shoulders, and whispered to myself, "I choose peace over blood every time."